4. All right, hey, what's up, everybody? This is Mr. G. These are the corrections for the 0422 practice quiz. It's going to be on greatest common factor, least common multiple, and factoring expressions. This is the answers to the assignment that we've already done. So, number 1, it says find the GCF, or the greatest common factor, by listing factors. I'm looking for the factors of 20 and then the factors of 50. I'll start with the factors of 20, and I'm going to make a list. The list that I make is basically, I'm going to think of all the factor pairs that I can think of to multiply together that will give me 20. I can always start with 1 times 20. That will always work. To get 20, I can also multiply 2 times 10. I can also multiply together 4 times 5. Now I'm going to do the same thing for 50. I can multiply it together 1 times 50. I can do 2 times 25. Or I can do 5 times 10. Now that I've got my factors listed, I want to circle the factors we have in common. I'll do that in this green color. We've got 1, 2, 5, and 10. Of the common factors, 10 is the largest. So the GCF is equal to 10. Number 2 is the same type of problem. It says find the GCF, or the greatest common factor, by listing the factors. Now I've got 10 and I've got 20. Well, I found the factors of 20 on my last problem. So they're 1 times 20. They are 2 times 10 and 4 times 5. So I got 1, 2, 4, 5, 10, and 20, all being factors of 20. Now we'll do the factors of 10. I can multiply together 1 times 10, or I can multiply together 2 times 5. These are the only factors that will give me 10. So I have 2 in common, I have 5 in common, I have 10 in common in both rows. The largest of these numbers is 10 again. So the GCF is 10 for this answer as well. Number 3, it says find the GCF by prime factorization. We are going to do a little bit of more practice on prime factorization before the quiz. But prime factorization just means I'm going to be breaking these numbers down into smaller factor pairs into even smaller. So for 42, since it's even, I can divide it by 2. 42 divided by 2 gives me 21. I'm going to circle this 2 because this is a prime number. So 42 has a factor of 2. 21, I can break this down a little bit further. This was the same thing as 3 times 7. So all of these are factors of 42. It's 2 times 3 times 7. Now I'm doing the same thing for 140. It's basically 14 times 10. 14 is 2 times 7. 10 is 2 times 5. So 2 is a prime number, 7 is a prime number, and 5 is a prime number. So on prime factorization for 140, it's 2 times 2 times 5 times 7. So we've got a set of 2's here and a set of 7. If I multiply 2 times 7, I get 14. So my GCF, my greatest common factor of 42 and 140 is equals 14. Do the same thing for 150 and 225. 150 is 10 times 15. 10 is 2 multiplied by 5. 15 is 3 multiplied by 5. None of these numbers can be broken down into factors, so these are prime numbers, so I can circle. So my factors for 150 are 2 times 3 times 5 times 5. If I do 225, since this number ends in 5, I know that 5 is a factor, so I can divide 225 by 5. That'll give me 45. 45 also ends in 5. This is 5 times 9. 5 is a prime number. 5 is a prime number. 9 is not. 9 is 3 times 3. My 3's are prime. So now I want to write all the numbers that I have circled in order. I've got 3 times 3 times 5 times 5. I got a pair of 3's, 5's, and 5's. If I do 3 times 5, that's 15 times 5 again.
Good morning, and pardon the interruption. Mr. Colhorst, can you please open the door for Miss Branch as well? Mr. Colhorst, please open the door for Miss Branch. Thank you.
So 3 times 5 equals 75. So that's my greatest common factor. So the least common multiple, instead of looking for numbers that are smaller than 3 and 4, I'm going to be looking for numbers in common that are larger than 3 and 4. So I need to list my multiples. This is where a chart might come in handy. You don't have to draw a chart, but it might help. 3 times 1 is 3. 4 times 1 is 4. 3 times 2 is 6. 4 times 2 is 8. And I go 3 3 times 3 is 9. 4 times 3 is 12. Then I go 4. 3 times 4 is 12. And then 4 times 4 is 16. I can stop here because I've got a 12 here and a 12 here. And this is the smallest number, or the least number, that these numbers have in common when I'm starting looking for multiples, which makes this my least common multiple. Is 12. Do the same thing with 5 and 14. For the multiples of 5, I'm not going to make a chart this time. And multiples of 14. I go 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 55, 60, 65, 70. Normally, you will not have to keep your multiples out this long, I promise. But since we got 5 and 14, my LCM is going to wind up being 70, so I had to extend out my 5s all the way. So 14 times 1 is 14, times 2 is 28, times 3 is 42, times 5 is 50, times 4. 14 times 4 is 56, and then 14 times 5 is 70. So I've got 70 in my row of 5s, 70 in my row of 14s. My least common multiple between 5 and 14 is 70. So this says find the GCF and the LCM. So find the greatest common factor. For 8, I can multiply 1 times 8, or I can multiply 2 times 4. For 22, I can multiply 1 times 22, or I can multiply 2 times 11, and that's going to be it. So my greatest common factor is going to be 2. But this is only half of my answer. I also need to find the least common multiple. So I'm going to do my multiples of 8. I'm going to go 8, 16, 24, 32, 40, 48, 56, 64, 72, 80, and then 88. For my 22s, I got 22, 44, 66, and then 88. So my least common multiple is 88. So my greatest common factor is going to be smaller than the numbers that I'm given. My least common multiple is always going to be larger because I'm multiplying. This is a little bit of a review from what we've already done. It says simplify by combining like terms. The first term is 2x. I can combine that with this plus 3x and this minus 4x. This y is a different term, so I can do that a different color. 2x plus 3x gives me 5x. If I subtract 5x minus 4x, I'm just left with 1x. Then I got this plus y here. So this will be my final answer. x plus y. So this says simplify by combining like terms. I've got 3y plus 4 being multiplied by y minus 3. So before I combine, I need to distribute this 4 with the y and with the minus 3. 4 times y gives me 4y. My minus sign stays there, and then 4 times 3 gives me 12. I add my initial 3y, and I combine like terms. I combine 3y plus 4y. That gives me 7y. I got this negative 12 that I can keep right there. So my final answer is 7y minus 12. So number 10, simplify using the distributive property. There are going to be a few distributive property questions on here because that is the opposite of factoring out an expression. I'm going to multiply 7 times 2x. 7 times 2 gives me 14, and then I keep my x. Then I add my plus sign because it's right there. And then 7 times 5 equals 35. So my final answer is 14x plus 35. Simplify using the distributive property for number 11. I'm going to distribute this negative 2 times 12p. A negative times a positive equals a negative. 2 times 12 equals 24. And then I need to leave my p. Then I keep my subtraction sign. Negative 2 times 6 equals negative 12. A negative minus a negative equals a positive. So my final answer is going to be negative 24p plus 12. Yeah, you should be able to just go. Number 12 says factor the common factor out of this expression. I got 4x plus 12. So I'm going to be doing the opposite of the distributive property. So my final answer is going to look like this. I need to look at my factors for 4 and 2. Well, for 2, I can only multiply 1 times 2. To get 4, I can multiply 1 times 4 or 2 times 2. So my factors are 1, 2, and 4. My greatest common factor is 2. So that number, that's wrong button. So my 2 goes on the outside of my parentheses. Now I want to divide both of these by my greatest common factor, which is 2. 4x divided by 2 gives me 2x. 2 divided by 2 gives me 1. And this is my final answer. Factor the common factor out of the expression 30p plus 54. I'm going to factor out 30, and then I'm going to factor out 54. 30 is 1 times 30, or 2 times 15, 3 times 10, or 5 times 6. 54 is going to give me 1 times 54, or 2 times 27, or 3 times 18, or 6 times 9. If I'm looking for factors in common, I've got 2, 3, and 6. So I'm going to factor out the 6 that's going on the outside of my parentheses. If I divide 30p by 6, I get 5p. If I divide 54 by 6, I'll get 9. Let's factor out 7. 7 is a prime number, so I can only have 1 times 7. 42, I can have 1 times 42. I can do 2 times 21. I can do 3 times 14. Or I can do 6 times 7. I got 7 in both rows. So 7 is my greatest common factor. So 7 is on the outside of my parentheses. 7x divided by 7. My 7 is going to cancel. I'm left with x. 42 minus 7. 42 divided by 7 is going to give me 6. So when I factor out my 7, I'm left with x minus 6. Now, factoring out this expression, I've got 120 and 80. Trying to find factor pairs might take me quite a while. So I'm going to do prime factorization and then factor out the expression. 120, I know that's 12 times 10. 12 is 3 times 4. And 10 is 2 times 5. 80 is 8 times 10. 8 is 2 times 4. 4 is equal to 2 times 2. And then 10 is 2 times 5. So I circle all my prime numbers. Factors of 20 are 2 times 3 times 4 times 5. And my factors of 80. Oh, I knew I was missing something. 4 is not prime. Two times 2 times 3 times 5. That looks better. 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 5. 2 here, 2 in common, 2 in common, 5 in common. If I multiply 2 times 2 times 2 times 5, this will give me 40, which is my greatest common factor. If I divide 120 by 40, I get 3y. 80 divided by 40 gives me 2. Final answer is 40 being multiplied by 3y plus 2.